Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I am one of your hosts, Jeffrey, also known as Lord Chamberlain, and here are my co-hosts.
George, the art lector.
And Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
As you know, we'll be starting off with The Blade itself, the first book in the original trilogy. So we'll be covering Teeth and Fingers, The Wide and Barren North, Fencing Practice, and the Morning Ritual in this episode. So, let's get started. I believe we should address the fact that we forgot to rate the remaining 3 chapters from the last episode.
Yeah.
So, we're just going to do that now. Hopefully, you guys can forgive us. It's our first podcast episode.
They don't
So
have a
sorry.
choice. They had to forgive us.
We're
not going to respond to any kind of hateful comments.
Absolutely not. And if anything, we won't know if you forgive us, but, it's the thought that counts.
And if you don't like it, you can just go watch a different First Law podcast.
Yeah, that's right. But wait, there is no other.
All right, we're the only ones. Oh. All right, so let's do the one let's do the second chapter, which was questions. How would you guys rate that?
Oh, I definitely give that one an 8 out of 10 out of 9 fingers.
8 out of 9. Look at the high score.
Fantastic introduction to this one of my favorite characters of all time.
Okay, I like that. Harrison?
I'm going to agree with George. Honestly, 8 out of 9. As soon as I get to this chapter, and every single read through, I'm always like, finally, Galacta. my home.
Your home. Okay. Ooh. I guess I gotta make it a trifecta for 8 out of 9 fingers. Oh! For all really the reasons you guys so eloquently put it. So, that's the second chapter. I mean, we're starting hot out the gate. And now we're moving on to the third chapter, which was No Choice at All. How do you rate that, George?
Well, it's a good chapter. We get a lot of Logan's backstory, but it is really a lot of him waiting around.
Yeah, it's kind of boring.
A little bit. So I'd give that a 2 out of 9 fingers.
Okay. Harrison?
I'm going to go with a 4 out of 9 fingers, but specifically because we get to see the spirits. And I like that.
Okay, that's cool. I would give it a 3 out of 9 fingers. Just because, like the both of you said, not much happened. He's just sitting around, and then talking to the spirits was very cool. But other than that, it was just more, I guess you could say, exposition, world building.
Yeah.
Nothing really happening. So then we move on to the fourth chapter, which was Playing with Knives. George, how did you score that?
I'm going to have to give this one another high score. I reckon seven out of 9 fingers.
7? Okay.
Again, it's just a perfect introduction to a beloved character or a hated character, depending on where you sit.
It depends on the time period.
Right. Okay. Harrison?
I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 9 fingers because, like George said, is we get to introduce his character. We also there's so much to think about when it comes to all the little side characters that pop up and how it's written to introduce each and every one of them. None of them, you kind of get the idea that they're side characters, but none of them are like, oh, this is a generic person. You can tell that there's a little bit of flavor to each of them, and I really appreciate that.
I agree. I'll give it a high score as well, but I'll give it a 7 out of 9. Just because.
Yeah,
it's how I want to score. That's it.
Yeah. You don't need an excuse.
I don't need an excuse. You guys gave all the explanations. What else am I going to add to it?
Stop telling us to go first.
Well, you know what? I believe in equality. Okay, so we got through the ratings of the previous 3 chapters that we missed. So now we'll move on to what's going on in this episode. And for our first chapter read through was Teeth and Fingers, which is a very short chapter. Might have been a footnote. And here we get to see Inquisitor Galacta torture Mr. Sepp Dan Teufel. Is that correct?
Yep, that sounds good to me.
Right.
And I really like this one because it's just a solid escalation. It's the same premise as questions when he goes into the torture ruse for information.
Right.
But this time he's specifically been ordered to go after somebody very important.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's just that perfect escalation of the plot there in such a short chapter as well.
Right. And we see a dramatic escalation in terms of the torture tactics. Or,
Mm.
the previous in questions, we just saw Ruse getting the shit kicked out of him. And here, well, we see Glocta demonstrate fine butchering techniques, I guess we would say. Very. How
The
how did
precision.
the precision? I'm in awe. I feel like that was better than what I did
That
last
was much
time.
better. That was much
Mm,
better.
yeah. Thank you, George. Thank you. Harrison, what'd you glean from this chapter?
To be honest, so the first time I read this chapter, I was like, "Holy shit! This book is serious. Like, this is some heavy, hardcore stuff."
Mhm.
But and I do agree with George that it is a really good escalation of
Mhm.
the plot. He's dealing with somebody bigger. He's a bit more intense. He,
Mhm.
as always, he doesn't give any fucks about what people think.
Mhm.
But I also kind of feel at this point because we know what happens, how it kind of plays out. We know that guy's going to talk, even the
Right.
first time. So it's not my favorite chapter, but I do appreciate definitely for the first time reading.
Mhm.
I think it gives us, the first little bit of the great comedy duo that is Cortes Severard and Frost.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
I love how Severard, he repeats, and it's very intimidating, to have somebody doing that to you.
Yeah,
You've
Mhm.
been
whispering in
ganged
your
up on.
ear each
But from our
time.
perspective, I think it is quite funny.
Right. But from Mr. Teufel's perspective, he's gonna be shitting himself.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, how did you do it, George? The first thing he's like, a right-handed gentleman.
A right-handed gentleman.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And then he did a rat in a shit house, I think he said. That was
Yeah.
it's just his timing was great. And then but Frost, who wants to do Frost? What his comedic
George
gold
got
was.
Frost. I mean,
George got Frost.
Oh man. I don't think I could do it without laughing.
you're thinking about.
It's I just said it.
Excellent.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the chapter. Teeth and fingers.
Bravo, bravo.
Bravo. So I'll give that a 6 out of 9 fingers.
Ooh, yeah. I think 6 out of 9 as well. Like I said, it's a very good little a lot crammed into one very small chapter.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
6 out of 9 for me as well.
I'm gonna have to let you guys down here, but I'm gonna go with
Oh.
4 9
Ooh.
fingers because again, I like it. It's short, of course. We all like all of it, but
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like, especially on other read throughs, I'm kind of always waiting for this chapter to be done. I appreciate the dynamic, and it is funny, but to me, that's about all there is in the chapter.
Okay.
But-
So the score is born out of your impatience, is what you're telling us.
That's right. I want the
Okay.
book to be over with.
You want the book? I just want to
No,
get
I'm
to the
kidding.
good stuff.
We wouldn't be doing this if I wanted it to be over.
Right, right. You just want to get to the good stuff. That's what it is. That's all right. So then we move on quickly to the wide and barren north. And here, Harrison, do you want to give us the backstory on what's going on in this chapter?
Yeah, so I mean Logan's just out there. He went a little further south. He's in the moors now, in the foothills of the mountains, and he's kind of just waiting. He's kind of starving. He's kind of getting impatient, and he's like, "Well, if he doesn't come around, then I guess I'll move on."
Mm-hmm.
And then out of the I believe it's raining. But out of the rain comes a very sickly looking young man on a horse,
Mm-hmm.
who then comes up to Logan and is like, "Are you Logan Nine Fingers?" And he does this very infamous look through the fingers, which I really like it when he does that.
Yeah.
That's a great.
His signature move.
Yeah, that's great.
I love how Logan's sort of solution to this problem of looking for the Magus is to just kind of sit around a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he does say he's looking for him, so I guess he puts himself right next to the road to make sure that whoever is gonna come looking for him will find him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I love the line, having little smoky, thorny fires at night, just in case there's any passing wizards.
Yeah, is to keep his flagging spirits up and attract any I don't know. It's so tongue in cheek for me.
I guess it just shows how little Logan cares at this point.
Right. He's like, whatever, dude can do magic, whatever. Just find me if you want.
That's okay, I guess. You know.
Yeah, I guess whatever. And then, so yeah, and then he introduces himself as Malachus Kwai, correct? Kwai,
Yeah.
Kwai. And then it's from here we get the sense that he's not the best apprentice. Is that
No.
correct?
He even admits it himself.
Mhm.
Yeah. Apparently, he's supposed to be a seer, and he sucks at even that.
Yeah.
Right. And being a seer, that means you're supposed to be able to what? See ahead in the future? I forget what seers are.
Yeah,
Well,
something
he
like that. You know, be able to see things that you shouldn't be able to. I assume.
Okay.
yeah, and he does mention something about the stars, but it started raining and the clouds came, so he wasn't able to find his way.
Mhm.
So I wonder if it has something to do with that. It's kind of hard to say because it's never brought up again, really. So
Okay. Let's see. So then it moves on, and we see how he just wanted some food, and he just fell asleep so quickly.
yeah, he took
Traveling
all
for a
his
long
food.
time. He just took
I
all
will
his
say
food.
too is like it's really it's the first time we get to see Logan be very kind. You know, he gives him his food
Mhm.
without too much thought.
But that's what we expect from the main character, our protagonist, correct? Isn't it?
Yes, our main hero.
Our main hero. And then get the sense that Kwai is sick, like as you said, he's sickly. And they start heading out. The first morning he wakes up, he's already thinking he's gonna die.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, man, you had a pretty easy life then. And then they start making their way to.
I think that's how I wake up every morning.
No.
I will die, and then I will not have to move.
George, we need to have a conversation after this episode.
Uh,
So then, we learned that Kwai likes to talk a lot as they're starting to travel back to the Great Northern Library. We learned that he studied under Zacharias first. Do you want to give some background on that, Harrison? Adeptus?
Well, we do meet Zacharias later on, so I don't
Mhm.
want to give up too much with speculation wise. But
Right.
Zacharias is another magi who resides mostly within the Old Empire.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had to guess in terms of how he met Zacharias, Malachus doesn't really talk about his family.
Mm-hmm.
And the Old Empire is a war zone, pretty much all the time, run by city states. So
Mm-hmm.
if I had to guess, Zacharias probably found him as like a young teenager without any parents, maybe an orphan, and that's why
Okay.
Malachus, even though he's not the best student, is very loyal.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably because without them he wouldn't have anything.
Right. And he probably showed some promise, at least in Zacharias' eyes, right?
Yes,
I would
but he did
imagine.
give him up to Baez, so
Mhm. Yeah, he gave him. He felt he was ready to go study with Bias to earn the staff. I
well,
guess
he
you got to
he says
study with.
that.
Yeah.
He says that, but Zacharias could also just be he's not the biggest fan of Baez himself. He could have just
Mm.
been tired of Kwai's bullshit with him slacking off and then passed him off.
That's true. That's true. And then they go down the road a little bit, and then they run into some bandits. Of course, Kwai
we have
did not
to
help.
talk about the fire spirit first.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that right now because
Yeah.
who knew that Logan had dragon breath ability? What?
I mean,
Yeah,
that is a pretty incredible trick to only use once. You know.
Yeah, because the flames aren't like normal flames either. When he spews it on him, it just instantly engulfs his entire head. It's not like a little
Mhm.
spout out. The entire campfire was put on top of this person's face.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
Yeah.
not a good way to go.
No.
Oh,
So sudden too.
In
Ugh.
fact, it smelled pretty good apparently.
No, yeah. Afterwards, Logan's like his stomach roiled, I believe. What did it say? Oh yeah, it had disgustingly appetizing smell. Yeah, there you go. Well, he's about to break the
You never
second
know;
law
they could
there.
have both become eaters just right then.
Yeah, no, they could have right then and there. Kalul would have been proud. Although we don't talk about him yet. Oh,
Shh.
Nope,
whoopsie.
we'll just
Kowloon
forget about
doesn't
that. No,
exist.
you didn't hear that,
Whoopsie.
listeners. Okay.
Whoopsie.
Who's
Whoopsie.
Kowloon?
I don't know.
How did I say that?
Again, Malachus provided no assistance here. He basically fell off his horse, lost the horse, or the horse got hurt, I think, and ran away, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And then-
the horse got spooked. after the
horse gets
fire, I think, and then it ran, so I didn't have one.
Okay, gotcha. And then Logan basically kills all three, and even a 14-year-old boy, I think it was.
Yeah, he does take. I believe he gets stabbed, or sliced. I think in the shoulder or something, doesn't he? Or in the
He does
arm.
take a wound, yeah. This,
But he doesn't really give a fuck.
right. He doesn't care, but he's alive.
Still
And
alive.
then they pick over their bodies to like take so Logan could get new boots because his were like basically falling apart at that point.
Oh, waste not, want not, you know.
What was that, George?
I said waste not, want not, you know.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And so I guess they just continue moving on. That was pretty much it. So
Yeah, I will
the,
say. Go ahead, George. Sorry.
I said I love the action again. Like all the action in this series is great, but this is like the first source of real fight that we get,
right. Mm-hmm.
and it is so easy to follow. You know, you're never in the you're never confused about what's happening or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I love
No.
how he refers to one of the bandits as Boilface.
Yeah, boil face. That's hilarious. What does he call? Man with a helmet, boil face. It was another one he called. No, no other fun names.
Oh, Axeman.
Axeman.
Don't
Yeah.
forget
Yeah.
Axeman.
He's very succinct. Logan is.
That's our
He-
character spot for the week, by the way, Mr. Axeman.
Oh, that's our character spot of the week. Is Axeman? Oh, okay. So what's our character? So tell me about Axeman.
Well, yeah, that's an axe, right?
Uh huh.
And he's a man.
No.
And he's a man.
And he gets murdered.
He gets murdered. Wow, that's pretty. Wow, his
Oh.
life was wrapped up in
Did
3
we- did we-
sentences.
We did talk about somebody else being a character spot, right, George?
Oh, of
yeah,
course.
some,
That was
yeah,
just a
somebody.
joke.
Yeah.
I pulled a Jeff right there. You know?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Are you guys serious?
Wait a minute. You guys are messing with me. So then, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the fires have spirits for people who are like, "What the hell?" It does not come up again. My best guess is the fact that Logan knows that there are spirits in the north still, so he's
Mhm.
able to somehow use the fire and the spirits that are left there in order to be able to spew it out. But that is my only guess because we never see it again. It's never talked about again.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right. I believe Abercrombie one time said something where he wrote that thinking he would include more magic in the stories, but then forgot to take that out, I think, at some point.
yeah,
Which is
read
a
something.
forgivable mistake. Plus, it gives us lots
Right.
to talk about.
Right. Yeah.
yeah. It's like, well, what does that mean? It might come up again. You never know. And
You know,
You
you
never
know.
know. You never know. That's true.
I
So-
just want Wrecker to just pull that out of her. Just start spitting fire at people.
Oh. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised with that character. So wait, George, did you give a rating? Because I know you said that was, you love the action in this chapter.
Yeah, I'd say I'll probably give this one a 7 out of 9 fingers.
Oh, okay. Harrison?
6 out of 9 fingers. I really like the action as well, and I like how we get to see more of how Logan interacts with the people. He's kind of like he still kind of doesn't give a fuck about anything at this moment, but he's still nice on the surface right there when he's talking to people. He's just as like, oh yeah, here, eat my food. That's fine, even though I'm starving. Just like I like that character work there.
Yeah, we see more fleshing out of his character. I'll go with a 7 out of 9 for my rating for the action, which is incredibly detailed, visceral, and didn't run for many pages, so it doesn't drag out at all. But it's very you could say it creates an image in your head, and you can definitely see easily. Like I think George, you said, it's not difficult to follow along at all whatsoever in this.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more with my own opinion.
I agree with your opinion, and therefore you agree with me.
The way we like it.
So our next segment will be the best meme of the week. George, you want to take it from here?
Of course, we have Reddit user. Once I find it again, one second. Of course, we have Reddit user Copper_yacht. with our when you get elbow dropped by a psychotic 9-figured northerner and you've got to report it to your boss, which is just a very deflated Vitari, which I think we've all been there after a long day,
Mm-hmm.
Super deflated.
And
It's the-
we'll put that link in the description when we upload this episode, so you guys can see it for yourself if you haven't.
Mm-hmm. We will do that. And for new readers, this moment that the meme is referring to comes later in this book, so just hang tight. So then we'll move on to our third chapter read through, and this chapter is called Fencing Practice. So, Harrison, do you want to talk about this chapter?
Yeah. Oh, is it fencing practice that's next?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Okay, you had me worried. I was like, oh.
My book doesn't have that one.
I was like, have I had a bootleg copy this entire time?
Yeah.
No, I think I'm disorganized right here. George, if you want to talk about this one, actually, that'd be.
Sure. I think we just get straight back into Giselle, don't we? He's obviously still slacking at the one thing that he has to do,
Mm-hmm.
which again, we've all been there.
Right. But yeah, the one thing that he needs to do, just the one thing that is required of him, he wants to put in no effort whatsoever. He's getting his ass whipped by Varuz and now West.
Absolutely. And, he just loves to whinge. He loves to whine. He loves to complain and woe is me and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes him so hateable.
Mm-hmm. And the just the amount of shit talking that Varuz is giving to him is hilarious.
Yeah.
He says the major only had to tap you and you fell down like a fainting schoolgirl, in referring to his footwork.
Then he's all like, Bourbon Ghost has a back leg like a pillar of steel.
Steal yourself.
It'd be easier to knock down the house of the maker.
Yeah. Which I think is the first time it's referred to.
Is it?
No, he refers to it whenever he's running
Ah,
at the
yeah,
end
of course.
of that. Because he goes into the tower change and there's like, there is the house of the maker looming over everything.
Which I love
Okay.
as a piece of, not foreshadowing, but a sort of a tease, because he just mentions it so casually. It's the house of the maker. Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing I like on the world building side. I really like that because even though it's super strange to us, these people have grown up with it. They may not know exactly what it is. It's influenced their society to a certain degree, but they're just like, yeah, that's that thing. It's like growing up next to Mount Everest. It's like Mount Everest is right there. It's like just the thing that's there. I like how they don't talk about it in terms of a different structure. It's just a part of their society.
Right, like it's
Exactly.
not
Like,
immediately-
normal people don't walk around expositing on everything that's happening around them.
Right, exactly.
Except for Baez. We'll get to
Baez.
that, but
Yeah. Bias gives us all the exposition that we needed and that we don't want. And then what else happens here? We see what else?
Well,
okay.
we do get to see a bit of. I mean, basically, it's just some training, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we do get to see how West is a bit more. We see how he kind of talks about his sister, which is coming into town, and it's to be honest, when you first read it, you're like, okay, this is interesting. There's this other character, I guess, but. Even right now, Wes is kind of talking not very nicely about his sister. I mean, I don't know about you guys. Sure, we get frustrated about our siblings, but the way he talks about his sister here is just not very nice.
Yeah, let me see. He says, what does he say? He says, she can be charming, but she's also a little unconventional. She could be a handful in the wrong mood. Truth be told, I'd rather take care of a pack of Northmen than her.
Yeah, it's like he'd rather take care of a pack of Northmen than his own sister. Like, dude, you haven't seen her in what, 8 years or something?
Something like that. Years it's been, right? Because it might have been the last time he saw her. Well, we don't know. Actually, we don't know. That's never really explicitly said, I don't think.
I think it might be.
I think it is
expanded upon a
later
little
on.
bit later.
Yeah, it is. They talk about how long it's been.
Okay.
But it's been a while.
It's been a while. Okay.
And the first thought that comes to his mind is he'd rather take care of a bunch of, in his mind, savages than his own sister, just because he's afraid of whatever she might do.
Of course. And
before
I like how. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
You go ahead. I love how this really points out some of West's character as well. Like, obviously, because Major West isn't a main character yet, or he isn't a point of view character, but we can see how he has to do these things, and he does do these things, and from what's explained here, that Varus went a lot harder on him,
Right.
and he managed to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But Giselle is still whinging.
Yeah. Can't help it. And this is the thing that I wanted to ask was, when did West win the contest? It had to have been after Galacta won and probably was captured, right?
Yes.
No, he actually won the contest before they went to Gurgle. So it was before they had both won the contest. In fact, he won the same year that they went to Gurgle. He must have won it right before.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, we'll get to that point later on, but that is like exactly what happens. But he did win right before that point, which Wes is 30 years old. So Gurgle was 9 years ago that it ended, or sorry, that he last saw Galacta. So he was 21 whenever about 21 whenever he won the contest.
Okay. Well, thank you for answering that, Harrison. That's what you're here for.
Oh,
It ain't no thing. So then we meet Artie. Good old Artie West. So,
and I love this whole overhearing of the conversation through the door.
oh yeah, well, Giselle is just sweating bullets at this point.
His thought process is like, oh my god, fat and peevish.
Fat, peevish, and now coarse.
He's just absolutely disgusted. He hasn't even met the person. He's so judgmental. He hasn't even met somebody. He thinks they're the salt of the earth.
He starts looking around the corridor like, how do I get out of here?
And I love when he opens the door. It's like, I was sort of expecting a shorter, fatter version of Major West in a dress.
In a dress.
Yeah.
And then he comes to find out that he was greatly mistaken. Apparently, she's a very attractive woman, but probably like more tanned, I guess. She has dark hair, dark skin, a little darker than would generally be thought ideal. So I guess if you had to bring to mind, are we thinking someone that has like the same kind of skin tone as like a Hispanic person, or different? Or like, George, tell me about the different races and skin tones in England. Why don't you?
We go from ghost to pale.
Okay, gotcha. So she's definitely not from this little fantastical equivalent, right?
Well, I think being a commoner and working, well, presumably they have a farm, and she probably takes care of some things. Working outside would give her, a decent amount of time.
Okay.
Whenever it's a common thing inside of like the artwork and stuff to make Artie quite a bit darker in skin tone, because Giselle mentions it, but he does mention how she's darker than the typical girl in Adjua itself. So gotcha. She is West's sister. So and West isn't noted to be super tan or anything either. So I do think she obviously has a darker skin tone naturally, and she is a little tanner. But I definitely don't think she's like, she's she's not like a different race entirely. She's
no, right. No, for sure. Especially
she
compared
just
to
spent
like
a lot of time outside. That's really what it is. I think what it comes down to.
Especially compared to.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, you first.
Oh, okay, thank you. I was just saying, it's like Harrison, you were saying, just especially compared to the ladies that are in Adjua, the ghost. Right. Okay. And George, you were saying something?
Because I think it is mentioned later that young ladies are expected to stay out of the sun as often as possible.
That's true.
And obviously they're going to be plastered with makeup as well.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And so Artie just doesn't wear makeup.
So really, that is the thing, isn't it? Like, this is the first time Giselle has ever seen like a real woman.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Not a caricature of one. And she immediately just begins by just running laps around,
asserting her dominance.
Yeah, it's great. It's fucking great.
Well, it's really good too, because obviously, she's dealt with some hard men in her life, and so she doesn't really have patience for silly things. She's gonna figure out whether it's gonna be worth her time or not, and she's gonna make sure it's known whether it's worth her time or not.
Yeah, and I like the part where she goes, "I know you're a great fencer, but I've been told your wit is even sharper than your sword. So much so, in fact, that you only use your sword upon your friends, as your wit is far too deadly." And then goes, she looked at him, she looked at him expectantly. Silence.
I know it's such a good play.
And I love how it's just another way that Giselle, despite being so confident, he really
Hmm.
doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, no, had the rug just pulled right out from under him. And then she
Artie,
goes, and then she goes, "Is this the right guy? Do I have the gardener here?"
just roast him, yeah.
Yeah, just straight up roasting him. Like he's just getting his ass whipped left and right this day. Jesus.
And then they go walking,
Mm.
down the middle way,
Mm.
and uh, there's that Knights Herald that comes running by as they're going back and forth, and Giselle feels completely I guess, witted by her.
Mm.
And as that Knight Herald comes sprinting down the middle way, everybody's getting out of the way. It's a little bit of a hint of how little she's kind of like Galacta in a way. She doesn't really have
Mm.
much self preservation because what's the
Mm.
point? Who
Right.
cares for her? Is her thought process. And so this horse
Okay.
runs by, and she doesn't even flinch as it goes by.
Mm.
And even Giselle's like, "Oh shoot, let me get out of the way."
Mm. He's trying to bring his voice desperately under control, like how close the horse got to him and her. Right?
He's
Like
such a little baby.
he's such a fucking baby. God.
Artie's
Um.
also already drinking a hell of a lot at this point.
Well, listen, I relate to Artie in that sense. So
Oh,
Many of us
definitely.
do.
I don't think we need to judge her for her choices in life. We don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. No, but it is obviously a thing to remark upon that she starts drinking and it's like what 10 a.m. We could just say like something
Yeah,
like
she
that,
just arrived too.
right? And then she starts asking him all these questions about what they see in the Kingsway, like all the statues. And he's at this point, he's like, "Oh, she knows more than I do."
Yeah. Well, she spends a lot of time reading. And that's not a spoiler for later on, but we
Mhm.
know that she spends a lot of time reading.
Right, for sure. George, were you saying something? I thought I heard you.
No, not me.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Think my headphones
Again,
just
like I like how Giselle basically doesn't have anything to say throughout this
no.
entire passage, and he
Yeah.
keeps trying to get her to stand a little further away, but he's like, uh.
She's not having
Right.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. No. He's out of his element here. And then he's the one thing he felt confident to talk about was what you said, Harrison, about the Knights Herald. And then he says that they're not supposed to speak because they're the king's voice. So when they do speak, it's only via like written commands or whatever. And then she goes, "Oh, I met this guy on the boat over here, and we just talked for hours and talk shit about you." And he's like, "What the fuck?" Yeah. And then apparently the Knights Herald was the opinion that Bremer Dan Gorst was gonna cut Giselle to pieces. Just gonna fuck Giselle up. That's basically this guy's opinion.
I think that's great. I think everyone is just bringing up Birmingham to Dan Gorst over and over and over, and of course
Hmm.
we don't get to see him until
Hmm.
quite late in the book. So I love the fact that he's being set up here as sort of this really intimidating guy.
Hmm.
Uh, random lore note is whenever they're talking about the different people and the different members on the statues and all of that, they mentioned how Harold the Great, the person who united the kingdoms, along with Baez,
Hmm.
up on the statue there.
Hmm.
How sorry, um, how the kingdoms of Middleland were divided up into 3 different kingdoms at one point.
Okay.
I just thought that was
That's true.
interesting.
That's
Uh,
true.
so I mean, in terms of what they were, who fucking knows?
Hmm.
It could have been the big noble houses, but at this point, I just thought that was interesting. How it was 3
Hmm.
kingdoms, so they must have been in kind of a medieval esque
Right.
setting.
Right. No, for sure. You're right. Yeah, because right now, if we had to say what kind of setting is like, especially the Union in, like they're very Renaissance era
Late
ish,
Renaissance,
late
yeah. It
Renaissance.
depends on the area, like England is not as advanced, but Midderland
Mm.
is it's in itself, especially Adua, is quite advanced for the
Mm-hmm.
time. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely late Renaissance for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've
Mm-hmm.
got like Gurkle, which sort of seems to be undergoing sort of like an Islamic golden age sort of situation.
Right. I like the caliphates and the
Yeah,
like.
yeah,
I believe.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then the north seems to be, very medieval.
Very medieval. I agree. That's true. That's
Got a
accurate.
nice selection of time ranges and different cultures, which is nice.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very realistic.
Right. It isn't a one size fit all. I like that. Also, I like the little bit what you were saying, Harrison, about there's a little bit of lore building that's just dropped in here where she asks Giselle, is it true they still keep a vacant seat for Baez in the closed council? And then we know that that comes up into play in West's chapter, I believe, later on when we see his point of view.
Of course, yeah.
hmm And then
Yeah, it is a good little thing to throw in there because it is important.
mhm.
And we do get a little bit of exposition about the House of the Maker as well, that nobody goes in there.
You
Oh,
can't
right.
get in, yeah.
Yeah, we do. And then it's sealed, and he just realized like no one has ever gone in there.
But he's
And
too distracted because she's getting a bit too close.
yeah, he's like, oh. And then right before that, again, Giselle, just being the twit that he is so ignorant of everything. Doesn't like he's like, yeah, we might be going to war with the North. Yeah. What does he say? He could do with a rap on the fingers, something like that. Yeah, this Bethel could do with a rap on the knuckles.
Yeah, he acts like it's just gonna be like a little doozy. No
Mhm.
worries.
And then she comes in with the horror narration, and like barbarians, savages. He's like, what the fuck? Oh, but and then he can't even concentrate because she's so close to him. And then what else? Oh,
And I
and
do
then
like
here,
how that's the focus. Like the fact that she's leaning so close and he can't handle it is
right?
like 50% of the entire passage.
hmm And
You
then
know,
yeah, and then he's call it, looking up and down to see like who is like going to see this because he's worried about the perception. He's worried about like the will the people talk, at least the nobles, because
Yeah,
he's with
because
the.
she's just a poor she's just a poor farm girl or whatever.
Mhm,
Oh, and I do love how anytime like he
mhm,
like justifies her reasonings as well a little bit too.
mhm.
She's like, well, she is just a poor farm girl. She doesn't really know anything. This is the big city. It is me.
Right. Yeah. hmm And then we see, I believe, Galacta come up in this chapter.
He
Yep.
does.
Mhm.
and we sort of get a bit of a proper description of him from somebody else's perspective. Hunched figure, really big overcoat on, trying to stay out of everybody's way.
Right.
And I think that's it. That's just a perfect image.
His interaction, Artie's interaction with him is very interesting as well
Oh, for sure.
because she doesn't. It's not like really disgusted by him.
I don't know.
Yeah.
She's very actually empathetic and caring and genuinely concerned about him. And then, like that moment, you could tell like Glocta had like a moment where his mask dropped, where he was just taken aback by it, like that genuine interest. And he looks at Giselle with like this eyes cold as a slow death. He goes- and then Giselle just stares at his boots.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's all he has to do. He just has to look at him.
that's
Mhm,
the thing too is that like obviously Galacta is not a great sight to see, but
mhm,
like Giselle's a grown ass man. He's not even
mhm.
crippled.
Right.
It's like why is he scared of it? It's because he's intimidated by his just intimidated by him. Period.
hmm Right. Glocta, even though he doesn't look like he's not the greatest swordsman in the world anymore, he just strikes fear. That's what he does. That's his name. That's the name of his game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it also kind of explains here as well, like that Artie's like, yeah, we hope for your best that you'd be okay and everything like that. And he is
Mm-hmm.
it. We don't know what Galacta's head is saying, but I always imagine him being like, sure you did,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But then
Mm-hmm.
he's also at the same time like, that's actually pretty sweet.
Oh, we should also mention how Giselle, right before he got scared shitless. Right before that, he thought he could get a little a dig in at Glocta, and he was like, "I suppose we all serve the king in our own way." Trying to be a little prick, trying to be a little prick, and Glocta takes it in stride. He's like, "Man, fuck this little guy."
Yeah, he's not really phased by it.
So then, after that, Glocta walks away, and then Artie reminisces about the times that Glocta, prior to his time at Gurkle, would come over to their house with West, and like how they were close, him and Major West, and that she remarked upon like how the way he moved, it was something to see, And now Giselle's the brightest star in the sky, and he's just like, "Oh, what?"
Yeah, she's like, yeah, can you believe that the last greatest swordsman was that guy right there walking where he's crippled now?
Mhm.
What about you?
Yeah, right.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So normally we
Um,
would go ahead. What would you say, George?
I love the final ending, the final line to this chapter as well. Just he rather fancied that the sister had given him the worst beating.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, "Oh, he likes that." Oh, well, okay. So normally we would go into our character spot as our next segment, but because the character spot is actually coming up in this next chapter, our final chapter, we'll just go right into the final chapter. And this one is the morning ritual. And who wants to take on introducing what happens in this chapter?
So
Oh
I
wait,
think this is.
before we do that, we have to rate. Sorry, we have to rate.
Oh,
Oh
gosh,
yeah, we almost forgot.
can't
Almost
forget.
forgot. Can't keep doing this.
No.
So fencing practice.
Do you want to
Uh,
go first, Lord
all right,
Chamberlain?
I'll go first. I like this chapter a lot. Like just the wit that was on display by Artie, and just Giselle's just haplessness. I'm giving it an 8 out of 9. I'm going 8 out of 9. And we get a little exposition there, just by way of conversation that it isn't forced. It just kind of flows out, which is great. And I just like seeing Giselle get his ass whipped, both just in the physical realm and in the emotional, verbal realm. Like, why not?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's the same for me. Like, there's a parallel there between, a conversation and a fight
Mm-hmm.
because they are
Yeah.
two sides of sort of the same, they're
Mm-hmm.
both conflict.
Yes.
And I think that's a really, really, really good, interesting theme for later in the book as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd give this episode or this chapter a 6 out of 9.
A 6 out of 9. Okay.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 8 out of 9 as well. For the same reasons Jeff pretty much said, is their banter, if you can call it that, of already kicking his ass verbally, is really really entertaining. You get a lot of exposition. We get a lot of like subtle character things with Wes to his sister, with Artie to her brother, with Artie to Giselle, how Giselle sees both of them, and how they also see Galacta as well. I just think it's really, really good development for all of those characters.
Mm. Well put. Well put. Well put. All right. So now we can move on. Now that we took care of our responsibilities, now we can move on to the fourth and final chapter read through, which is the morning ritual. Who wants to take this on now? I think George, you were about to.
Oh, absolutely. I think really what you have to do when you read these chapters, Glocter's little dream sequences he has every now and again.
Mm-hmm.
But Colonel Glocter is a completely different character.
Right.
And I think that's fantastic. It's just all of the confidence and,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that he's, fit and healthy and
Mm-hmm.
all of that. Everybody loves him. It's just everything he's lost
Mm-hmm.
put into a separate character. Then, you know, it's him missing it when he's dreaming, obviously. But this first introduction is absolutely fantastic with just the interaction that we've just seen with Giselle and Glocter just completely flipped on its head.
Right.
And I
How
think
he's
it's one of the
the
best.
young.
Good.
I was just gonna say, I also agree. I like how he's like the young swordsman again.
Mm-hmm. And he did catch Giselle's attempt to get that little dig in. He's like, he's like, I suppose we all serve the king in our own way. Whined Captain Luthor, and it's like, yes, he whined. He's a whinger. How do you say it? Whinge.
Whinge is good. Whinge is a
Whinge.
very good word.
Very good.
I
And
love
then,
how he just straight up kills him.
No hesitation. Yeah.
They just
and
excellent.
then Artie is just so
into him.
into him with blood on her cheek, and she's like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
She's basically like, "No,
Oh,
stop it,
Colonel.
Galactus, stop it! You're being so bad."
And
And
then
then,
this fading into Frost and the art editor wants you.
yeah,
Yeah, how she looks at him in the dream sequence, and they're making out and shit, and then she like looks at him like, Arch Lecker wants you.
Yeah, it's
the
like,
art
what?
actor. And then he wakes up. He realizes he's had a dream, and this is the part I'm just like, Jesus, like he just shits himself when he's sleeping. Like that's insane. I like what? Why would that be a common occurrence for Glock? I'm trying to think like what did they do to him
It
where he
must
just
just
loses?
be how his leg is all butchered, and he's probably had other bits cut off him as well.
Yeah, jeez.
The muscles just don't work properly anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he can't stand up on that leg of his.
Right, the left
Which is
leg,
why
right.
he can't stand up it at all. So, and I'm pretty sure the reason why he has a really hard time sleeping and why he has constant pain is because he has probably spinal nerve damage.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime you move or do something weird or turn your neck, there's something in his spine that is just messed up, which is why he's
Right.
always in pain.
Okay, that makes sense. And then we get to meet Glocta's servant, Barnum.
Bottom!
Such a dear, isn't he?
What happened?
I said he said Barnum is he's such a dear, isn't he? He's just
He is.
he's
He
a
is.
sweet old man. He's
I
a
know he
nice
doesn't
guy.
care. If Galacta's a crippled and shit. He's just
Right. He's already boiled water for a bath. Had it ready, and then he asks if he can get it if Galacta can get up and open the door because Galacta locks his door from the inside.
Mhm.
And there you sees that his self-preservation, that drive is like high because he locks it every night. Seems like, and then Barnum he makes it to the door. He struggles greatly to get to the door, but then he makes it to the door, opens it, and Barnum's just standing on the other side. His arms are just outstretched, waiting for Glocta to just fall into the.
Which makes you think this is a very common occurrence.
Right. No, for sure. And then he's like, to think that I, Sandan Glocta, the greatest swordsman the Union has ever seen, must be carried to my bath by an old man, so I can wash my own
So I
shit
can
off.
wash my own shit off.
Mm-hmm.
And they're
Yeah.
so humanizing, isn't it?
It
This
is.
guy that
It
we've
is.
just seen torture two people,
Mm-hmm.
and now we feel bad for him.
Yeah. Like, how could you do that to us, Joe?
Yeah.
I guess my only thing to add on to both of what you guys are saying
Mm-hmm.
is for you, Jeff, whenever you're talking about his self-preservation, it is super interesting how Galacta doesn't care if he dies. Like, if something happens that happens, his way is always like, whatever. But if he can avoid it, he will. He just is
Right.
not going to be put out if there's nothing he can do. So
Mhm.
he does want to live. He just doesn't know why he wants to live.
Right. He hasn't found the reason yet.
Yeah. And
He
then
hasn't found himself yet.
yeah, he doesn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And George,
That's
for
very
you,
interesting, Harrison. I've never thought about it that way.
yeah, I think it's super interesting how that worked out. And then I just had a brain fart. George, what is it that you said about that part? Sorry.
Very humanizing, George.
Yeah,
Oh,
very humanizing.
yeah, like you guys said, he we see him torture people. He's in this position of power. We think he's you first read the book, he's like, this guy's kind of an edgy person, isn't he? He's kind of written over the top a little bit. But this is where it kind of brings you back down to be like, he's that way on purpose. He's written that way on purpose. Here is his other side.
Very true.
Exactly, yeah. I definitely agree.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get a bit more unpleasantness with him trying to eat his horrible breakfast.
Oh, God.
Porridge and honey.
Like, the spoon doesn't even touch the sides of the bowl. Like, what is in there?
I know.
Porridge again! Hooray!
My God. And he does like a little like nursery rhyme, the porridge and honey, and Practical Frost is just like stone. Just not doing anything.
In fact, this might be what we should name the chapter. Porridge and honey.
That's what. Yeah, we'll name the episode "Porridge and Honey" for sure.
That's brilliant.
And then he's like, it was like staring at a whitewashed wall, but without all the emotion.
Practical Frosty is.
I love how Frost doesn't actually have a one line in this segment. He just
stands
has
there.
shrug and
Yeah. He nods
doesn't
or shrugs.
react.
He really
Mhm.
does not give a fuck about what Galacta's trying to do.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Do you
And
reckon
so
Frost goes home at the end of every day and he's got like a wife and kids, and he just sits down
He's
and
got like a normal ass life.
just complete, he gets home and he hangs up the mask and everything, and he goes
Hey, I'm
down
home.
and he just sits down and he just doesn't talk to them.
he just doesn't talk. I always thought Practical Frost just went home and wrote in his diary every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got like a little pink diary.
But yeah, it has to be pink though, matches his eyes.
Yeah,
And
and
then-
there's only one part that I always think of. This isn't too
Mhm.
much of a spoiler, but him
Mhm.
and Sephiroth do something sort of nice for Galacta.
Oh
and
yeah,
he does acknowledge that Galacta takes care of him.
yeah. No, he
So
does.
there is that aspect.
Mm-hmm. And then from here we see that Galacta goes to meet the Archlector, and obviously Galacta's pissed because he shit himself in sleep, right while he's sleeping. He had to, like it says, the Archlector's office was on the top floor of the House of Questions, so those stairs were killing him. And then he meets this fucking secretary, this little shit.
Oh yes.
Does any of you guys want to take this part?
You go ahead, Harrison. I've got.
Yeah, he's
Oh.
like, do you have an appointment? And he's like, you know who I am, you self-important little shit. I love that. His thoughts through this part is so good. And he's so sassy. He's like, do you think I'm the, what does he say? Do you think I limped all the way up here to admire your desk?
And the best part, go ahead.
And then he's just like, and your name is? He just ignores him.
Yeah.
I'm Galacta, you dolt! Inquisitor Galacta!
He smashes his cane on the guy's desk.
The guy gets all scared and stuff. It's just a
Yeah,
great interaction to see
it
how Galacta is just. He has had a rough day all morning.
Mhm,
He's
mhm,
had to eat his favorite meal, porridge and honey, and
mhm.
he goes up there and this little pompous ass. And we've all been there. We're
Right.
having a bad day.
Mhm.
We go to a doctor's office to get a doctor's appointment done, and the person's like, name. You give him your name. Like, you're not on the list. You're like, bitch, just
Mhm.
please, and don't push me.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah,
And
definitely.
he even made the practical smile, one of the ones that are guarding the Archlector's office.
Yeah, probably because they
Yeah.
hate the little shit too.
Probably. I hate him too. Shit.
And right, so we meet in Archlector Salt again, and we get in the first bit of exposition about the leadership of the Union. And
Mhm.
Harrison, do you want to give us a little background on that?
Yeah.
So yeah, the union is ran. The government of the union is it's got two sections of the government. There is the closed council,
Mhm.
where they run everything. They're in
Mhm.
command of everything. They're in charge of everything. The Archlector is a part of it. He mentions High Justice Morovia, who's like the supreme judge. There's the generals, the Lord Marshals are on there, including Varuz. There's also, we come to know that there's an admiral and a few other people. And then each of those close council offices have sub offices which run more the administrative things.
Mm.
And then the actual landowners are the nobles.
Mhm.
They run. They're all inside of the open council, which we'll see them later on here. But they actually own the land, and they're the ones who most of the main base of the money comes from for the union. However, as we see in this little speech of his, the the merchant class, the everyman, people who start businesses and stuff, the Spicer Guild, the Mercer Guild, they have slowly become more and more prominent, just kind of like in our own world, in Renaissance era. As they own businesses, they acquire enough wealth to be on like the same status of nobility, which of course only causes tension in between the classes, between the common man who brings himself up through money, and then the nobility who think that they're just better because they own land.
Right. The Blue Bloods. Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the basics of how the union functions.
Mm-hmm. And then I believe Archlector confirms to the reader that Prince Ladislaw is a fop. Just he is
Oh
just
yeah, it's the opposite of the king, and the king is basically just a figurehead under the
yeah,
close council.
right. Well, he's a figurehead because he's if I'm not mistaken, he's like invalid. He's dealing with like a sickness in his old age, if I'm not
Definitely
mistaken.
seems like some kind of dementia
Yeah, like
later.
dementia, I believe. And then he compares Ladislaw with Reynaud, the younger prince, who's better fitted to rule, but younger brother. And so it's that. What's the kind of succession that it's called, where it's based on the first male, I guess, the oldest male.
Yeah, there is a term for
There's a
it.
term
Primogeniture.
for it. Okay, primogeniture. That's it.
Yes.
So it seems like that's how the union is designed in terms of like its monarchy.
Yeah, and the king does have technically absolute power. He
Mhm.
does technically can tell the close council whatever he wants,
Mhm.
but especially over time, since the close council is the actual people that administrate everything, they're
Mhm.
the actual ones who've been in power for quite some time.
Mhm.
And I'd just like to point out at this point that this is exactly how the government in the UK works.
Mm.
You serious?
Yeah,
Mm.
because we've got, obviously we've got the Queen, God save the Queen and all that, whatever. And
Mhm.
then we've got the House of Lords, which are old nobility, and they
Okay.
have the same amount of power as the elected officials. So it's sort
Really?
of like the interplay between the closed and open councils.
Oh,
Interesting.
I did not know.
Well,
Well, here I thought you guys had a constitutional monarchy. Like,
Sort of
oh.
it's kind of like
constitutional
us,
monarchy with 20
Mhm.
asterisks.
It's like us,
Mhm.
Jeff. It's like, yeah, we're a democratic republic, quote unquote.
Right,
Asterisk,
right, right.
asterisk, asterisk.
Asterisks. All the asterisks. Okay. So then Archlector continues his speech, just about like the state of the government, how basically the general gist is the union's in a shit place because the Northmen seem to be rampaging. Gurkul has a new and vigorous emperor, ready, getting his country ready for another war. The noblemen clamor for ancient rights, and the peasants clamor for new ones. Yet the old order crumbles, and no one has the heart or stomach to support it. So it seems like Saul is a hard-nosed conservative, is
Yep,
what
that
I'm
would be
getting
a
from
good
here.
description.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's kind of the like you said, he's a bad boss and everything. But
Mm-hmm.
what his kind of ideology is one of, oh, he does the what's the term whenever something you're making an argument with somebody and it's
Mm-hmm.
not a valid argument, but he appeals to tradition a whole bunch. He's like, traditional things always have worked, which is ironic knowing how
Mm-hmm.
things actually are in the union later on.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And he looks up at the Zoller painting as well.
Yeah.
Zoller was a famous archlector, the one who
Mm-hmm.
made the office really prominent. And he thinks,
Mm-hmm.
Zoller, he knew how to run things because he
Mm-hmm.
all he does is think about the past and how things used to be better in his day, and
Mm-hmm.
he does it all as an excuse for his own ambition, which Glockter's kind of already catching on to.
Right.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And
And here we find out as well why Glockter was sent after Septan Teufel, which is Septan Teufel was being considered for the role of Lord Chancellor on the closed council,
right,
who is
because we
go ahead,
go ahead.
who would be replacing the late Chancellor Ficht, who was supposed to have run the union for, says here, 70 years.
Something like that, right? It was a
It's a
very long time.
very long time to be in power.
Well, actually, 20 years. It looks like.
20 years, isn't it? Well, I
Oh,
was way
well,
off
we
on
were
that.
we were off by a good 50.
But still, the point in 20 years for one person to be in power is quite a long time.
Right. Well, he was nearly 90. Uh, he died nearly 90 in his sleep. He died the night when Glockta was interrogating Ruse, and then interesting. Well, okay. So yeah, so he's in power for 20 years, and they called him the greatest politician of his day. He played all sides against each other, ensuring that he was always on the winning side, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
Yes. It's interesting too because the Archlector, he says that the old Chancellor had died the night of that, but that was the same night that the Archlector had also told Galacter to arrest Septan Torthel or get him named or whatever, because he was already, as soon as he died, the Archlector already knew kind of what was going to happen. He was ahead of
Right.
the game.
Which was Machiavellian, but you got to give him credit in like how fast he wanted things done.
Yeah, the Archlector's pretty smart.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
he
and he doesn't even let on. He doesn't explain to Archer at all. He just expects him to do it.
That's true. Which I guess
Really
helped
shows how
the-
powerful he is.
Right. That's true. Because it's really it's him, Morovia. It was Feet who, like, I guess you could say rose above them all, but now it seems like it's Salt and Morovia.
So there's definitely a power vacuum here. Which is always a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I also kind of like how, Joe writes it to be kind of subtle, and I appreciate that in terms of like what it's like. He's acting like, oh, it's for the country, the good of the Union. Fink knew how to run things back in Zoller's day, blah, 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 blah. But really, it's all just for his own ambition. That's all it is. And
Right.
we can assume it's the same for High Justice Morovia. High Justice Morovia is probably, this is just suspicion, because, I mean, it's going to be a while before we meet him proper, but High Justice Morovia is, more for the people. But really, is he?
We don't know about that. And we know that Archlector Salt is putting this guy Halleck in to replace, like you said, Lord Chancellor Feigt, and he'll be more sympathetic to the Archlector's way of his views, his desires to run things a certain way, right? And then he tells Galacta he also needs an Inquisitor exempt, and then Galacta's like, me?
Yeah. Who else got that?
Right. He's like, can I have some time to consider it? And Salt's like, nope. Like, well, there you go. And now, so he wants him to go further into into investigating the Mercers. This is where we find out he wants to root up all the corruption, quote unquote.
Yeah, he wants to get rid of his competition, anybody who might pose a threat. He's kind of cleaning house, and that Fink is gone.
And obviously, there's a lot of he's definitely going to be after funds for his political campaign as well. He knows that the Mercers have been stealing money. He knows that they're an easy target. So
That's true.
and as we see later, there are big rewards.
Yeah.
Little note actually: does anybody know what a Mercer is?
Is
No.
it a guild?
So a Mercer traditionally is a merchant that deals in luxury fabrics.
Oh,
Look at that.
So there's a little bit of history there.
Oh,
damn, son. Nice. I didn't know that.
Wow, look at George bringing the knowledge today. Holy shit. Wow, that's really cool.
So it makes sense, you've got the Mercers and the Spices. The Spices and
that makes sense.
were basically
Spices,
the two biggest
Mercers.
imports.
Oh wow, look at that. Okay. And then go ahead to Harrison.
I was just gonna say my only note for this, my last note would be is that, without spoiling too much, of course, it's interesting how he's going after the Mercers and how he's trying to get rid of other means of funds from the Union. How he wants to make it more centralized. I just find that interesting how Salt is playing the game, and there's repercussions for that.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
And in pushing Galacta to continue his investigation into the Mercers, he wants to nab a couple well-known or like big fish from the list of accomplices that Rue's named. And the one thing I like, the note here is, he goes, "This person's a nobody. No, that person's a nobody. Come on, give me somebody good," basically. And he goes, "Well, we have Willem Darren Robb. He's minor nobility, holds a junior customs post." And then Salt is like, he thinks about it. He's like, "Nah." And then he goes, "Wait a minute. Wait. His brother snubbed me at a party one time. Fuck him. Bring his ass in." It's like, this guy is such a petty motherfucker.
I know,
it's so funny.
He goes on this
Exactly, like-
huge speech how it's about for the greater good, and the Union was good in the old days, and then immediately after he goes, "Oh, that little snob, he snuffed me at a party."
Yeah, fuck
Yes.
that. Fuck that. Bring his ass in.
The
Bring
whole
them all in.
facade just drops away, doesn't it?
Yes, it's great.
And
It's
that-
awesome.
That was a good sneak peek into.
And again, the last line of the chapter is always the best.
Right.
It's any name in particular that need be mentioned? He says, no, all of them, any of them, I don't care.
It's like,
After this whole big thing, yeah, it's great. Yeah.
So that was the morning ritual in a nutshell.
So now we got to get into our character spot.
No, wait, we got it. We got to rate the chapter, boys.
We got to rate it first. We got to rate it.
Yes. I keep
Okay.
forgetting.
George, go first. Go ahead.
Right. So I love this chapter. I just think there's so many different little ways that you can look at it, so many aspects to it. So I'm going to give this one an 8.5 fingers.
Oh,
8 and a knuckle.
8 and a knuckle. 8 and a knuckle out of 9.
Not quite
Okay.
perfect, but it's getting there, you know.
Just getting there. Okay. Harrison?
I'm gonna give this a flat 8 knuckle, an 8 finger out of 9 because I mean George is right. It's written really, really, really well. And yeah, there's exposition like that, but it's like honestly, like George said, there's a lot of things to look at. You can reread this chapter a couple times, like back to back, and kind of catch other subtle details from each time that you read it from each character. So yeah.
No, I have to be in agreement. I'll split the difference. 8 and a quarter of a knuckle out of 9 fingers. I'll split the difference for all the reasons you guys have said, and there's no reason for me to add on. So the next segment is character spots. George, take it away. Or is it
I think
George, right?
we've agreed on Barnum, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
It is Barnum.
I love Barnum. I love him. He's clearly, you know, he puts up with so much literal shit, and all he has is a tired smile.
That's all he has. He has no other possessions, just that smile.
I mean, the fact that, you know, I feel like Galacta kind of takes Barnum for granted. You know, he's always, yeah, he pays him, of course, but like Galacta's got a good, I mean, Barnum's got a good attitude. He's there for him. He helps him out of bed. He doesn't judge him. He treats him proper, you know, like a lord. He doesn't call him a cripple. He doesn't despise him. He's just a nice old man. And I wish Galacta would appreciate him.
Maybe I think he does in later chapters, does he? No,
I don't think he does. I don't think he ever thinks about him more than just shouting for him.
Yeah.
Barnum. Get my chamber pot.
Oh, wait, too late.
No, it's on the bed now.
Yeah.
Damn it, Amber Heard.
Oh, he pulled the Amber. Yeah.
Oh.
Now Galacta, I just realized he's a male Amber Heard. Just with all
Shitting in beds?
toxic traits, you know, shitting in beds. How dare he? Okay. Anything else we want to talk about Barnum?
No, I think we've said everything that needs saying.
Okay.
He's just.
I mean,
it's
it's nice that, you know, there is a character out there who is just a sweet old man. You know, it's pretty rare in these books. So,
Right.
I mean, who knows? Maybe he goes home and like fucking kills cats or something. I don't know.
Wow, Harrison, I had a glimpse of hope, and you just you just fucking murdered it. And good lord.
So, guys, if you have any other theories about Barnum's home life, you know, just let us know.
Yeah.
If anyone has any thoughts what Barnum does on his off days, please.
I'm pretty sure
let
he
us know.
lives there though. He's a servant, isn't he? Maybe not though. I don't know.
I don't know.
No, he
Maybe-
doesn't.
maybe
He
we'll
doesn't.
find out.
He doesn't?
must not. No, he must live close by, or maybe he's on call. I don't know, because Galacta lives in a small. We come to find out later. He lives in like in a small like flat almost, and you know. Anyways.
Okay. All right. Well, that's our show, everyone. And we want to thank you guys for listening and supporting this podcast. As you guys know, this is a big passion project for the three of us, and your support really does mean a lot to us. If you want to, reach out to us, you can contact us via social media. Our Twitter is, I believe, at CLTWpod. Correct, George?
Yep, that's the one.
And then everything else is Circle of the World Podcast. Our Reddit account is Circle of the World Pod, if I'm not mistaken again.
Absolutely. Yes. And as always, guys, if you have any contributions or questions, just email us at circleoftheworldpodcast@gmail.com.
Yes, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever else you listen to podcasts on. And please rate and review this podcast as it helps, to spread our reach because of the algorithm.
Praise the algorithm.
Praise the algorithm.
So, thank you all again for listening. We really do appreciate it.
Porridge and honey, better than money. Everything's funny with porridge and honey.